Hi, this is Brad Davies, and I'm going to give you a tour of my suburban forest garden. Okay, so as you can see, this is a small backyard. It is only 50 feet wide. It is 130 feet long, and we have got a ton of stuff planted in here. So I'll walk you through. I'm not going to name off everything because, frankly, I don't know what a lot of it is without looking at the label. Alright, as we enter here, we're walking on a sunken path. This is dug down about 8 inches or so. We have some rhubarb there. We have 4 different pawpaws there and some other things. Some plums. This is a flying dragon. That is a citrus that is hardy to zone 6 where we are. There's onions planted throughout here. You can see there's a few trees that did not come back. Those are from the bargain plant warehouse that I bought, and they weren't really that great of a bargain since they all died. Some other things, cornelian cherry, there's strawberries planted, there's asparagus planted, there's lots and lots of clovers planted for ground cover. Some of these taller trees were clearance trees that I got from big box stores last year. They ran about 10 bucks each, and most of them I already did a winter pruning on so that I could shorten them down. There's another pear, plum. Okay, and then we can see the entrance where I walked in here. There is going to be one more swale right there that'll run the long entranceway, and then through where I walk through the gate there will be a pergola and a gate and a couple of benches to sit that I'll be growing some vines on, and it'll help keep the dogs out of here when I don't want them. If we look over it this way, we can see up that tree I actually have a game camera going that is taking time-lapse video. It's been running for about a year now. I actually have no idea how many photos there are. I had to get a 2 terabyte server drive just so I could keep dumping them all on there until I do something with them. In between these little areas of the paths and the swales, there's these little grassy areas in between. Those will be used to graze the rabbits, and possibly I might try to let some quail loose in there. Once I get it set up, we'll have to figure that out and see how that's going to work. Over here along this fence line, you can see the grass is a little shorter. That's actually where I already grazed the rabbits. So you can see the rabbit tractor moving right along there. It started in the back corner and then went down the fence line all the way to the beginning, and now it's making its way back. Eventually, I'm going to turn these green areas into little paddocks that the rabbits can roam in, and I'll build a den, and we'll do some various experimenting to see if I can keep them in there. Alright, so once the first swale up there gets dug, that'll be the first swale, and this will make this one here the second swale. This is 10 feet wide from the very back of the batter to the top of the swale edge, and it is about 2.5 feet deep. So this is a pretty large swale. The swale will be filled with either wood chips or gravel depending on what I want to go with. I'd probably start with wood chips, and then I'm going to inoculate that with different mushrooms. And then the pathway here, I'm still debating on whether or not I want to do stone, wood chips, or a living mulch. I guess it's probably going to depend on what resources I have at the time financially. Alright, so aside from all the trees in here, you can notice that there's lots of other things planted. There's a thornless blackberry. Over there's another blackberry. I have a bush cherry over there. So in between each fruit tree that is going to be kept really small, kind of like this one here, there's lots of different fruiting shrubs. So this is one of my sections of apples. A few of these have already flowered, and it looks like they are going to set fruit. So I'll have myself some apples this year. That'll be pretty cool. Alright, in here we got tons of onions, Asian pear, something else, a American riverbank currant, another flying dragon. There's a lot of different species in here. I'll just keep walking through. Try not to bore you by naming them all because, well, I don't know them without looking at the tag, and I don't want to sit here doing this. These are some pluots. Got a bit of those. Some kale that was in my ground cover mix, so there's some areas where kale's coming up. It's kind of nice to be able to come back here and just grab some kale. Here we have some hop vines. Before I got into permaculture, I started growing hop vines and had planned on putting a large trellis system over here. Well, I changed my mind once I started getting into permaculture and have not moved the hops yet. So I tried a couple things. I've been cutting them back, and now I'm going to see what I can do, if I can work in a trellis system here, or I might just end up mulching them out and then moving them to where I could use them. Here we have some comfrey planted underneath the peach. That's another apple tree, some more comfrey. Looks like the hops are already getting a hold of that one. I'll have to chop that back. Rabbits in the rabbit tractor. Looking pretty happy, and you can see this is the area they're going and the area they have been. So I had read on a couple of sites that the rabbits wouldn't be able to pull the grass through or eat the grass with a wire bottom on their cages. Well, luckily for me, the rabbits did not read the same thing, because they are having no problem grazing off the grass and no escapes. So pretty cool there. All right, we have some more raspberries. There's some heritage raspberries, a plum tree, cherry, more comfrey behind it, more raspberries, comfrey, plum, pear, comfrey, and this pear is actually setting some fruit, so we will have some pears to eat this year. Excited about that. Another peach, blackberry, and a few other things through here. This is the fire pit area. This will eventually be, there'll be a shed, small shed on both sides with a fire pit, gathering spot, hangout spot. So I don't really burn a lot of stuff, but sometimes you got to get rid of it. I've done a few hugelkultur beds here, but I don't really have any more that are going in the design at the moment, so some of it's just got to get rid of, turned into ash. I'll mix it in with the compost. Okay, walking back through here some more. Got a mulberry that didn't come back. That is a mayhaw. Azarole. There's another mayhaw right in there somewhere. It's hard to see through the kale. And on this side we have some more cherries, peaches, plums, all kinds of good stuff. These trees are planted about 3 foot on center, and they will all be heavily pruned. So here we can see one. This one was planted last year, and the deer absolutely destroyed it. So I cut it off. I was kind of thinking it wasn't going to come back, but it sprouted right back. That's pretty sweet. So that one came back, that one came back, even though they got absolutely destroyed, completely girdled around. They were about 5 feet tall, but I'm okay with it. This is a yellow raspberry that was planted last year. And a few more trees, apples, cherry, apple, oh no, that's a peach. Yeah, oh no, that's a pear, then a cherry, then an apple. So I get so many of them back here, I get confused. Okay, that's a peach, cherry, and an apple. Here we got some wild raspberries. I didn't end up moving those yet. I'm just gonna, or wild blackberries, I will harvest those, and they will be very yummy. All right, so here we are. This is the top, highest point of the property. There's the neighbor's old apple tree, which actually produces some decent apples. I'm gonna trim that up and graft some of my scion wood on there just to get a sample of what my apples will be like. But from the highest point of the property, looking back down, it's a pretty cool site. Kind of looks like an immature shrubland, clumpy bushland area. And I'm pretty happy with how it's looking, how it's turning out. It's kind of crazy to imagine this and then draw it and then actually see it, and see it in a different way than what you would actually plan. So we'll walk back down here. So this would be the top swale. And again, this will get filled in so that it is flush with the level sill here. This sill is the same height with that as that sill. I used a laser level to make sure that was all good. And it works like that all the way down. So there's two sills per swale. They're both perfectly level with each other. And the drop-off point for the water is the very back corner there where that time-lapse camera is. That's where it takes all the moisture. Now the reason I put 2 sills for each swale was because I observed something kind of interesting with one of the first swales I put in, and a lot of snowfall, was that the shade from the trees nearby was casting onto the sillway, so that remained frozen while the rest of the swale was liquid, and water kept trickling into it and refreezing every night, and eventually it filled up and the swale failed. which isn't very, it's not really a terrible thing, just kind of some water trickled out of it, but it was interesting to note that I hadn't really thought of that. So for future designs, whenever I'm designing something where there's going to be a large snow accumulation, like zone 6, you're putting 2 sills in each swale just to make sure that one of them is flowing during that critical spring time. All right, so that's about it for my forest garden tour. Oh, one more thing, I found a ton of morel mushrooms over here in this area this spring. That was pretty sweet. That was an interesting sight, was all of the water accumulating in the swale from the spring rains, and the morels just popped out all along this edge here, right at the top edge of the swale. It was just lined with morel mushrooms coming out, peeking out from underneath the cardboard there. There's some other fungus going on there right by a rhubarb plant, some more wild blackberry. All right, well, that is my forest garden. If you have any questions or you want to see more videos or comments, please comment down below. And thanks for watching.